maker. I've been a late night player. I've been broke as a joke. I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school. We think we're so cool. We take it back to the past. We gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger. Make my Jaeger just.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Sports Buzz, a Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable, Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut, on this week before Thanksgiving, November 17th.
It was a little warmer today.
A little bit warmer today. I went out this afternoon, no jacket on.
Yeah.
I said, what do I wear my jacket for? It's nice out.
Yeah.
So, some temperatures have been up, although I think it's going to cool off a little bit. We finally had some rain.
Yeah, we need the rain desperately.
Which has been pretty bad around here. We are definitely in drought-like conditions, and I don't know that everybody's so aware of that. At this time of year, you're not using water outside as much, but still, you got to be careful using water. We still are way low on the water levels. But yes, we are here and we are live. So 6:30 to 7 o'clock, 30 minutes, fastest talk TV sports thing in the whole history of talk sports. So if you want to call,
we'll be happy.
Get on the phone line. 203-792-4101 is the number. We'd be happy to hear from you. And right now, I'm happy to say hello to my right-hand man, Mr. Bob Raw Jr.
I'm doing good, Scott.
Yeah, doing well?
Yeah, just been busy with the fire department, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With this drought, it's been, last Friday we were very busy, especially up in New Fairfield area, because we had a very large brush fire. Brush
fire's still on alert for that sort of thing. I mentioned this time of year you don't use water outside that much, but sometimes this time of year people like to bonfire.
Yes.
Or have little fires out back.
Or their fire pits and
everything like that. So you have to be careful in that circumstance to make sure you don't let it get out of control. But thankfully we have guys like Bob on hand if it does to fight that off and make sure everybody stays safe. Bob's show, Spotlight on Tuesday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 12. Our director is in there, Mr. Mike Toohey. His show, Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1. We just heard the sounds of the Met Jet Maniac, Mike McFadden, who we have not seen in a long time.
Yes.
Fighting traffic, and I've been in some of the same traffic he's been in on a few nights in the last couple weeks, and it is brutal. So he made it just in time.
Traffic coming through Danbury tonight was brutal.
I don't know what's going on out there. It seems like there's
been... It's a week before Thanksgiving, and it's...
next week, traffic will be terrible. And of course, the production assistant extraordinaire, Mr. Connor Faco, is in there as well, helping things out. All right, Bob, we're going to turn the page on the political discussion from last week.
Yes.
Get back to doing what we do, providing 30 minutes of perhaps an escape for people who have just been bogged down by the situation in this country right now, and we will change topics. I am going to start with trivia, however.
Okay.
And it is a little bit patriotic.
All right.
With some of the things going on, protests over anthems, the elections. I came across this tidbit. So here is let me turn my phone off. Here is the trivia question. What year did it become commonplace, and what event really did it become commonplace for the national anthem to be played at sporting events? Your hint is that we talked about something historical happening in the sports world recently with some team, one team in particular, involved. So that's your hint. We'll let you mull that over. Maybe if anybody out there knows when the national anthem...
Please call. We would like to hear from you.
First was played in front of a sporting event. What year was that? 203-792-4101. Bob, you have any ideas? Don't give it away.
I have a pretty good idea.
Okay, Bob's got an idea. Well, remind me to give the answer, because sometimes I forget that I ask these questions and I go on and we forget all about it. All right, let's move on to speaking of the United States and national anthems. We're going to start the show with soccer this week, Bob.
Yeah, and soccer got a bumpy start to
Not so good. We were here last week getting excited for the First match of the hexagonal round, final round of qualifying for the World Cup for Team USA. They were taking on Mexico at home in Columbus, a place where they had beaten Mexico 4 straight times by the score of 2-0, 2-0, 4 straight times in Columbus. This time it was not so, as El Tri got it done, beating them 2-1 in really difficult fashion for the USA to handle. First half was all Mexico, all over them. Fortunately for Team USA, they were only down 1-0 at halftime. It could have been easily 3-0. But in the second half, USA made some adjustments to their formation, and they came out on fire and dominated most of the second half. Got a great goal early in the second half to tie it from Bobby Wood. And, you know, it looked like maybe they were going to get a go-ahead goal on a few occasions as they really put the pressure on Mexico. But in the final 5 minutes or so of regulation, they seemed to have worn down, and Mexico counterattacked a few times and ended up getting the go-ahead and winning goal in the 88th minute for that 2-1 win in the opening game of this hexagonal round. And then, to make matters worse, they were faced with going to Costa Rica on Tuesday night, a place where they are 0-9-1 in qualifying games, or all time, I guess. And they lost again in embarrassing fashion, 4-0. So this was terrible, Bob. The streak against Mexico in Columbus is over. Right. Also, the 30-match home qualifying win streak is over, which also dated 15 years. That 4-game win streak against Mexico in Columbus dated 15 years, back to 2001. Last time USA lost a home game in the qualifying, 2001 at RFK Stadium, the former RFK Stadium, no longer even in existence, against Honduras. So they are in a huge hole, Bob, losing the first 2 games. They still have a reasonable chance of qualifying for the World Cup, however, but they, you know, really don't have much room for error after this horrible, horrible opening weekend. They don't play again in qualifying. I'm sure there'll be some friendlies mixed in here, but the next qualifying games aren't until March of 2017. So we'll see what happens between now and then. If there's any shakeups, as Klinsmann is back under fire. They did play well, remember, everybody seems to forget. They made it to the semifinal of Copa America under Klinsmann, as he had them back playing well earlier in the year. But, you know, the fact of the matter is Mexico has been one of the top teams in the world over the last 2 years. And Costa Rica also had a great run in the World Cup last year as well, or earlier in the year. So, you know, we know Costa Rica, they basically played the 2 toughest teams in this group that they were going to play, and it didn't go their way. So I wouldn't jump ship yet on Klinsmann. I still have faith in him, but it is getting tougher to deflect the people who have been calling for his head over the years with this performance against Costa Rica, 4-0. Not good. All right, we're going to go through a couple quick things here as well before we get to football later in the show. Locally, Bob, racing, we talked about this weekend was a huge weekend for the Middletown kid, Connecticut native, Joey Logano. And did he come up with the goods again, Bob?
He did.
Winning 2 now of 3 elimination races in recent weeks as the screen goes black. Don't click the picture that's black, Mike. Unbelievable. Joey Logano is the hottest racer in NASCAR right now with 1 race to go. He has moved into first place in the standings. As you mentioned before we started the show, Bob, we're not sure what his pole position will be.
Because we have to see how it
plays out this weekend, right? And where is that race? You said
Homestead, Florida.
Homestead, Florida. So he comes in red hot. He's in there. Kyle Busch is the defending champion. He's in there. Jimmy Johnson, 6-time winner, is in there. And Carl Edwards is also in there. The 4 racers who are set to battle for the championship this weekend down in Florida. And Logano has won the most chase wins in the last 3 years with 7. So he's no stranger to doing well in this race for the chase. And hopefully he can finish it off this weekend. He feels good about it. And we'll see how he does. Also, touching story from Joey Logano. He went to the funeral of a 5-year-old racing fan who died from cancer the weekend before this week All right, because I think it was in the middle of the week, maybe on Wednesday. The mother of the son pleaded really, or asked for any race car driver to maybe come down and honor his son, who was a huge racing fan, at his funeral. And Joey Logano got in his car after one of his days at work, and his wife was crying as she had just heard the story and told him all about it. And hats off to Joey Logano. He went to the funeral to pay respect to the 5-year-old racing fan who had unfortunately passed away of cancer. So a good guy off the track, and obviously doing good things on the track. The Middletown kid, Connecticut native Joey Logano. We will wish him well this weekend as he goes for his potentially first Cup championship.
It would be great.
Really would be good for him. All right, staying in state, Bob. College basketball is underway. Last week we mentioned it. I didn't even realize the games were actually starting for real this weekend. Yes. And maybe there was a reason I wasn't paying attention to that because of what took place with the UConn men. Yeah. First, we'll mention the women.
The women are doing very well.
The 76-game win streak is intact. They are no longer the number 1 team in the nation, however, right, Bob, as they come in ranked number 3. They've lost some key players, but they held on for a big win to open the season in Florida State, Tallahassee. Speaking of Connecticut people going down to Florida and coming up with the good 78-76 on the road against number 12 Florida State. The Lady Huskies start the season with a tough, hard-fought win. So maybe this new team gets a little gut check, shows a little pride, and learns how to win some close games early in the season. So good for them to get it off. But it's going to be more interesting maybe, as last year it was such a dominating team that it really was not much to watch as they steamrolled through everybody. So these games will be more compelling at least, and hopefully they'll keep on winning. But at least the compelling side of thing, more drama if you're tuning into the Lady Huskies this year and college women's basketball overall. On the men's side, how about this to start the season, Bob? 2 home games, right, for UConn men?
Yes.
Wagner, 67-58 loss. Northeastern, 64-61 loss. The last time they lost to Northeastern was former coach Calhoun was coaching Northeastern and other Huskies up from Massachusetts in the mid-'80s before he came and built the UConn program up to the powerhouse that it was. 0-2, Bob, for the first time in 48 years. Coach Ali, you got some explaining to do on that one. Not so good. And the UConn men basketball fans will not stand for it. They won't stand for it long at all. I watched some of that game against Northeastern. A friend of mine was texting. I told him, look away. They're hideous. It wasn't good.
No, it wasn't.
We do have some good news, however, out of the college basketball world, especially if you're a UConn fan.
Right.
Down goes Duke at the buzzer to Kansas this weekend. So at least the Dukies, the number 1 team in the nation, did go down. So that was good. All right, speaking of basketball, let's do a little quick NBA because we do want to get to some football.
How's those Bricks doing?
Bricks are sitting at 5-6. Got a win against one of the teams I'm watching because of a former Husky, Andre Drummond. Beat up on the Pistons last night. They moved to 5-6. They did get trounced on Friday night, though, up in Boston, as Boston ended their little losing streak. Celtics sitting at 6-5. Good weekend for the Celtics as they pounded the Knicks in a game. What was Carmelo Anthony thinking? Mellow. Stay mellow. Why did he get kicked out of that game? Just jawing at the ref repeatedly. He got tossed, and the Celtics blew them out. Then a really good win in Indiana for the Celtics as they beat the Pacers, and a solid team effort game. Really was a closely contested game, and the Celtics did come up with the win there as they got 2 in a row after that little losing streak they were on. They did follow that up with a very disappointing 1-point loss in New Orleans. The Big Easy was not so easy as they lost to the Pelicans. Apparently Mike can't find the basketball pictures. Oh, there they are as I finish my segment. Appreciate that one, Mike. The Nets And there's the shot from the Pelicans as Marcus Smart got posterized. This was called an offensive foul. How about the elevation there? All you can see is the feet of the player from the Pelicans and the Celtic basketball player, Marcus Smart, taking the charge. Nets locally are 4-7. The other team that I like to keep my eye on, the Charlotte Hornets. They lost 2 in a row, but they bounced back with a nice win the other night. They are sitting at 7-3, one of the top teams in the East right now. Cavs and Atlanta sit atop at 9-2. Toronto in the Celtics and Knicks division at 7-4. Out west, another team we mentioned last week because I didn't realize the trade, but Portland with Shabazz Napier, a team we're going to watch, sitting at 7-5 in first place in their division, I might add. Clippers, top team out west overall at 10-2. The Clip Joint. And the Warriors 9-2, Spurs 9-3. That's some NBA action for you early on in the season. We'll keep track of that as we continue to go. A little early for my liking. It seems like the NBA started earlier this year than usual, but it seemed really like college basketball.
Started early too.
I mean, I never remember there being games before Thanksgiving.
Always after Thanksgiving that college basketball started.
I mean, I know the NBA starts in November usually, but it seemed a little earlier. But college basketball, you're right, but I don't recall really big-time college basketball happening before Thanksgiving. 2 weeks, granted, before Thanksgiving as well. Maybe the UConn Huskies were unaware that they were on the schedule. They were waiting for Thanksgiving break.
It could have been very...
I don't know. They're heading out west as well to play some top teams now. Maybe, you know, playing out of state and against some teams with name recognition will get them a little bit more pumped up. I was not thrilled with what I saw. NHL, Bob. Should I just stop talking and let you go on a little
spree?
Yeah, you know, talk about your Rangers.
Are doing fantastically well.
Yes, they are, sitting in first place with 26 points.
They are just can't stop.
That's your cue to talk, Bob, when I take a sip of my water when the pictures are rolling. Help me out, Bob.
I'm sorry.
Capitals, Pittsburgh Penguins. Capitals beat the Penguins, I think, last night, right? They are tied with 22 points. So you got a 4-point lead early on the...
How's your Brew Crew doing?
Bruins have won 3 straight, which Connor was happy to hear as I was showing him the pictures before the show. He's a big Bruins fan. I am happy to hear that.
He's a big Boston anything fan.
Big Boston fan. That's why I like that kid. You know, but in your division there, Rangers, Caps, and Pitt. Devils playing well as well. They're on a winning streak, I think, as well. They're at 21 points. How about this? DFL.
Yeah.
Islanders.
They're
13 points, Bob.
They're way in the
cellar. Ouch. Montreal, Les Habitants, Canadiens are in first place overall. Top team really in hockey at 28 points. Bruins, I mentioned, in fourth with 20 on their 3-game winning streak. How about this out west, Bob? We're not going to get too far into it, but the Pacific Division, the leader out west is Anaheim and Edmonton, both tied with 19 points.
Wow.
Playing poorly out west. Central Division, Chicago at 24. The Blackhawks. All right, college football, Bob. Upset weekend.
Yes, I watched one.
I watched a few of these games. I watched the game in Death Valley. Clemson looked like they had this game in hand late. Turnover in the end zone. Didn't settle for a field goal. Instead, they're throwing the ball around. Another interception. And Pitt. How about that, Bob? Pitt comes back in Clemson. Last second field goal. They score a touchdown and a field goal late in that game. To knock off Clemson 43-42.
Yes, I watched the last half of that game, and that was a
stunner. But Pittsburgh really looked good. They had the opportunities because of the turnovers, and offensively they moved the ball at will basically late in that game to get those last 2 scores, and they knocked off Clemson. Shocking defeat for Clemson. And then another shocking defeat not long after that, as Michigan, the Wolverines, who have been steamrolling teams, go into Iowa City, and they lose 14-13, a low-scoring affair, and they lose as well. And that is an ugly, ugly defeat there. And then later in the evening, I watched most of the first half, was in and out of the second half. Washington at home goes down to USC, who has been playing better lately, so maybe not a huge upset as the others, but still 26-13. Another team like Michigan, who has been scoring points at will, held to 13 points as well, just like Michigan. So let's check out the standings, Bob. As 2, 3, 4 goes down, right? You think it shook things up at all?
I think it shook up maybe a little bit.
You think?
I think.
All right, so I'll give you the AP first before we go to the playoff rankings. Right. Bama, Ohio State, Louisville, Michigan remains in the top 4 in the AP. Clemson on the outside looking in. How about this, though? The poll that really matters, the playoff standings? Bama, Ohio State, Michigan at number 3 does not move at all with that horrible loss. Clemson stays in the top 4 as well.
That doesn't, something's wrong somewhere.
It's one big, huge TV show, Bob, much like, I'm not supposed to talk politics again, right? But much like the election and everything going on, let's just follow the ratings, Bob. Yeah. Is it good for ratings? Is it good for the networks to have Donald Trump president? Perhaps. Yeah. Is it good for ratings? Is it good for the networks to have Michigan and Clemson in the top 4?
Oh, yeah, it has to.
Perhaps.
It pushes the envelope.
Louisville and Washington on the outside looking in. The other 2 teams to keep your eye on if you're college football fans, Wisconsin and Penn State. I will mention CSU still in the race for a bowl game at 5-5. Tough loss. You were talking about Air Force last week. They played Air Force 49-46, shootout.
That's a game.
Great game, though. They're home against New Mexico this weekend. Big games to watch this weekend in Week 12.
Your Carolina State doing?
Well, that's what I was just talking about.
Okay.
Are you listening to the show? We're not talking about UConn. If that's
I know, UConn, that's another story.
Unbelievable. UConn, actually, I did want to mention, they're playing Boston College this weekend as they revive an old Big East battle. Kind of curious to see how that turns out just because both teams are so bad, but really not much interest. The games to watch, Louisville at Houston tonight. Huge game because Louisville's on the outside trying to get in. Ohio State at Michigan State. Michigan State's had a terrible year, but it's still a big rival in the Big Ten. Michigan State could rise up. Clemson at Wake Forest. How about this for the tough late season Week 12 game for the number 1 team, Alabama? Chattanooga. This is why Alabama is a complete disgrace. Every year, late in the year, they got these cupcakes. You got to get those games off your schedule late in the year, Bob. Yeah. It's outrageous they're playing Chattanooga. Arizona State 5-5 at Washington. Indiana 5-5 at Michigan. All right, NFL, Bob. Finally, after the ratings were down all season long, the ratings go up this year. World Series is over, election is over, and maybe we get some actual good games and good matchups. As we got 5 minutes left, we get to the NFL. But the ratings did go up. Seahawks on Sunday night with the rematch in the Super Bowl get a good win.
Yes.
I would not call it a super win, if you catch my drift.
Yes.
It was a good win, not super, but good, up in Foxborough, 31-24, goal line stand late, poor execution by the Patriots as they had first and goal from the 2-yard line. You could question the play calling. I did not like the QB sneak on first down from the 2-yard line. Brady QB sneak is good to go, but I didn't like it on first down from the 2-yard line. I thought they should have just hammered it with Blunt. They went back to Brady on third down from the half-yard line, but he botched the snap, so you can't really know what would have happened there. And then the throw to Gronk, and it was incomplete. They lose. How about your G-men, Bob? Monday night.
Monday Night Football.
Interesting stats here, Bob. Don't let me forget about the trivia question. New York Giants, football Giants, have been outscored on the season. They are being outscored on the season, Bob, yet they sit at 6-3. They get a 21-20. Another, what a lot of people are calling unconvincing win against a mediocre team, the Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, Cincinnati makes the show once again, always in the mix. I don't know why, somehow that happens. They're averaging only like 63 yards per game rushing, not a recipe for success. And they're losing the turnover battle on the season as well, yet they are winning games. Hard to really gauge if they're good or not because there's a lot of mediocre football teams out there. Good game that took place, however, in Pittsburgh Cowboys, Steelers.
Yeah.
It went touchdown, touchdown, touchdown in the last 2 minutes of the game. Cowboys get the win, 35-30. What is Coach Tomlin doing, chasing two-point conversions?
I have no...
On the first score of the game, he goes for two.
I know.
They go 0 for 4 on two-point conversions, changed the whole way the end of that game was played. Ridiculous. They lose 35-30 in a pretty good game, though. And then some other wild games that took place. Not so wild, but just a stunning development. What is going on with the Green Bay Packers? Maybe we should start calling them the Green Bowl Packers. What are they smoking? 47-25, Bob. Getting crushed by Tennessee. Remember the Titans, my favorite movie of all time. I was in that movie.
Oh, were you?
Yes, I was.
Where
but
were you
still,
in the movie?
Oh, well, we'll have to do a whole show dedicated to that sometime.
Okay.
Maybe Mike can do one of his special movie shows and bring up. He can try to find where am I in the movie. Redskins beat the Vikings in your division. They're hanging around 26-20. The Vikings, another team from the Central, just collapsing, Bob. And Green Bay plays Washington Sunday night. Eagles with a nice win. Falcons, you can't trust them, 24-15 at home. Eagles play well at home, not great on the road, but they did hang around. So your division is really tight.
Right.
Chiefs with a crazy comeback against the Panthers. I think the Panthers are done. They play tonight against the Saints, who also might be done. Did you see the end of the Saints-Broncos game, Bob?
I didn't get a chance to.
Saints score the touchdown. The game is tied. They line up for the go-ahead extra point. Broncos block the extra point, pick up the ball, run it back for a two-point conversion, win it 25-23. Crazy. You don't see that too often. All right, here's the standings real quick. Patriots 7-2 in division. Dolphins 5-4. Winners of 4 in a row. Bills have stumbled, losing now 4, and they're 4-5. Ravens 5-4. What is going on in that division? They're at top. Steelers 4-5. Bengals 3-5-1. You can't count them out because that division's so bad. Texans at 6-3, Titans 5-5, Colts 4-5, Chiefs 7-2, Raiders 7-2, Broncos 7-3. Right now, Raiders, Broncos are the wild card team. In the NFC, Cowboys 8-1, Giants wild card team at 6-3, Skins wild card team at 5-3-1, Eagles 5-4, Lions in first place, Bob, 5-4, Vikings 5-4, losers of 4 straight. Packers 4-5, crumbling before our eyes. Falcons sitting on top 6-4. No other team worth mentioning in that division. Seahawks in first, 6-2-1. Cardinals trying to hold on possibly to a wild card at 4-4-1. Rams 4-5 with that win over the Jets.
Is the
9-3, 9-6.
For the
Browns winless, correct.
Going for that extra.
They're still winless. Big games this weekend to watch. Ravens at Cowboys, Titans at Colts, Bears at Giants, Cardinals at Vikings, Dolphins at Rams, Patriots at 49ers, Eagles at Seahawks, Packers at Skins. Tonight who is tonight? I don't even know. Is that the... Who is the night game tonight? New Orleans at the Panthers tonight. Texans at Raiders, also a big game this weekend. Thanksgiving, we are not here next week because of the holiday.
We need the answer.
We need the answer. 1918 Cubs versus Red Sox World Series in the 7th inning stretch at Wrigley. Game 3 before the game at Fenway Park. That's when it started, and that's when it's continued. We're out of here.